to continue with the last section in the episode, which is the in focus section. Today we will happily we want to incorporate Wiki Loves Women's Inspiring Open project and focus on an open woman who is Nichole. Yeah,
That sounds a
open
bit funny.
woman. Yeah, yeah. Um, Nichole, you've worked with open spaces for many years, and especially for open education. So we want to know more about you, and then we will focus more on the open education, the space or the field that you are more experienced. But firstly, we want to know more about you, about the where you are, and what brought you to the open movement as a whole.
Sure. Thanks, Sonia, and I appreciate the in focus. Hi everyone. My name is Nichole Saad. I know I forgot to put my last name on the on the title, but that's what it is. And I would say I've been in the open movement for around 8 years since I joined the Wikimedia Foundation in 2016. Before that, my entire career has been in the education sector. So I started as a teacher in 2006. And then, from 2006 to 2016, I worked in school administration, worked in curriculum design. I was a teacher trainer with the Ministry of Education. I went and did my master's in international education, especially related to education and emergencies and education technology. And then I was an education officer at UNESCO Amman office, and I worked on the Syrian refugee crisis education response. And then I came to Wiki, and one of the things about how did I come into open? Well, I think it's quite interesting that I had more than 10 years in the education sector before I ever really had a deep contact with the open movement. And I think that's one of the challenges and one of the issues that we face is when you're trying to talk to teachers about open educational resources, sometimes there's a disconnect because don't quote me on
How
this, but
can you
when I
engage
was
education with open?
yeah, but when I was in the classroom, we just made copies. We took what we needed. That's what teachers do. Like, I'm not going to say that, accuse us all of stealing, but when you have a classroom and you need a resource, you make a photocopy. And so teachers aren't necessarily super concerned with Creative Commons licenses for better or for worse. And I don't think that's the inherent value of open to teachers and to classrooms. I think if you go more on the open pedagogy side of things, that's where you really get a lot of value around rethinking the way that that we interact with content in the classroom. Not just that we have content, but the way that we see it. Do we see it as a static thing prescribed to us that we have to memorize and repeat, have our students memorize and repeat back to us, that we just take these resources that are handed to us from the government or from school administration? Or do we think about content as, the curriculum as something that students should have a say over, that they should participate in, that they should be producers of knowledge, that what they do in the classroom should have value beyond the classroom? So for me, that's the really true value of the open movement in education, is really, helping us to rethink our relationship to the curriculum, to the content that we teach and use in the classroom, and how that can impact learning outcomes. Because at the end of the day, for me as an educator, I'm concerned with learning outcomes. I'm concerned about whether the students that I have or the schools and teachers I'm working with and for have what they need to send these kids out into the world in a way that's really meaningful to them and their communities, and with the knowledge and skills that they need to survive and thrive. So for me, that's the true value of open. And I'm very thankful that I came to the open movement from the education sector, and I was able to participate and to build bridges, because I think there are still a lot of bridges that need to be built between these sectors of practice, like education, health, climate change, all of these different sectors of practice in the global community, and the open movement.
Yeah, Nichole, you mentioned that you you worked 10 years before joining open spaces. And you also mentioned some like changes, positive changes in your field after joining open spaces, like in your professional journey. But what about your personal skills and your personal journey as well? How joining open places positively changed your character or your relations?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Donya. I think there's a lot of really great values that we have in our open movement, that like that anyone can take and embody and like bring out into the world, like even their friends and families. Like, assume good faith is always a good one that you can like apply and transfer to different areas of your life. I think especially around media and information literacy, being involved in the open movement exponentially increases your skill set around media and information literacy, like inherently. And that's like one of the reasons, the program that my team created at the Wikimedia Foundation, Reading Wikipedia in the Classroom, was so important to us, because we know that just participating or even learning a little bit about the Wikimedia movement and other open movements helps people to learn really important digital skills and media and information literacy skills in a way that's engaging and that's easy, like kind of easy entry. Um, it's not like, for example, Wikipedia is a tool that most people already use to some extent, um, and so if you use something that they're familiar with to build on those skills, we call it scaffolding, right? You can say like, okay, you use Wikipedia, but have you ever looked at a talk page? Like, do you know how like the conversations that are going on that impact the content that you're reading? A lot of people don't really know how Wikipedia works. Um, and so just getting involved and learning a little bit about the process, like let's forget jumping in and being like a full-time editor. If you just learn a little bit about the community and how it works, you're increasing those like really really important digital literacy skills. And so I think that was definitely something that I took away from getting involved in the open movement, and I think everyone takes away from getting involved in the open movement.
Yeah. Sounds good, Nicole. Because your maybe field of experience focus more on education, but do you have like another topics in your mind that you believe that it's very essential to take the concept of open to the next level?
To take the concept of open to the next level. Um,
Yeah.
that's an interesting question. I think one of the things that, I guess the way I'm thinking about taking open to the next level is like, how do we increase the impact of open on the world? And I think one of the things that we really are seeing more of, and that we can look at, is around policies and policy recommendations. And I think recently there, in 20, I'm going to get the date wrong, I think it was 2019, 2018, the UNESCO OER recommendation like really had an impact on how ministers of education and educators see the value of open educational resources, for example. And so sometimes it's like the grassroots feeds the policy and the policy feeds the grassroots. Like they kind of work together to increase access and impact of, you know, technologies and movements, for example. And the OER recommendation helped to legitimize the stuff that was already happening at the grassroots level and kind of force governments to pay attention and kind of report on their use of OERs. And I think that's definitely helpful. But that wouldn't have happened if the grassroots wasn't already happening in the first place, right? So I think paying more attention to the relationship between what's happening on the ground and the policy, and like having those two sides work together or influence each other, is really important.
Yeah. And to dive deep into your current project with Open Collective, Open Learning Collective, because you mentioned that you founded it for supporting education, supporting educators and teachers as well. So why did you thought of emerging an open project,
Yeah,
and the
so
target vision of this project? Yeah.
yeah, thank you. So one of the things that like really motivated me to start the Open Learning Collective was I saw um, a big gap between um, the creation of educational resources and like the need for open educational resources. So for example, like a lot of companies, a lot of organizations around the world are creating educational content for teachers daily, but they don't know how to apply Creative Commons licenses. They don't know about like open pedagogical practices. For example, like Headspace has a program for teachers. Like lots of companies have programs for teachers and have educational content maybe related to their products or their brands or what their organization does. And it's so easy to make them open, and it doesn't dilute the impact of those resources. It actually exponentially increases the impact of those resources because now they can be translated, they can be contextualized, which is incredibly important in terms of increasing learning outcomes. Can the content be contextualized? Can it be localized? Can it be translated? So the goal with Open Learning Collective was one to help kind of bridge that gap. And also to build bridges between the open community and the education sector, which is I've kind of straddled that bridge for like
Yeah.
8 years now. So and I wanted my personal impact to kind of go beyond just Wikimedia. I know for the folks listening today, that's like heresy. But for me, I had been working just on Wikipedia for like Wikimedia projects for quite some time, and my background is really more in the education sector, and I wanted to do more with working across the education sector, especially get more involved in things that I'm really passionate about, which is refugee education, education in emergencies, and teacher education, for example, are some of the things I'm really, really passionate about. And I wanted to, have more time to focus on things that I really cared about. And then some creative projects as well. So I have two creative projects that I'm working on right now with the Open Learning Collective. One is one you can access right now, which is a podcast that I do with Melissa Guadalupe Huertas, who used to be on the education team with me at the Wikimedia Foundation. She's still there. But there's no longer an education team. So she works in community development. But we run a podcast called Pop Pedagogy, where we watch movies with teachers in them, and then we critique the teaching.
Yeah,
So
it's
we've
very
done like,
awesome and inspiring, by the way. Yeah.
oh, thank
As I watched one of them. Yeah.
we have a lot of fun doing it. So we thought it was a fun way to try to bring educational concepts, to educators or potential educators, is to look at, like we did a teacher from Harry Potter, we did a teacher from, we did Matilda, we did a movie from this 1970, a Mexican film from the 1970s, which was actually my favorite. It was so good. And so, yeah, we watch the movies, we watch how the teachers are like doing their lesson plans and all of that. And then we kind of critique their teaching and bring forward some of the educational concepts that are relevant. So that's one of the creative projects that we're Open Learning Collective is doing. And the other one is I'm working on a book on education leadership. I mean, it's still very much in progress, so I'm not going to announce anything about that other than I'm working on it, and stay tuned, I
Secret,
guess.
secret. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's what's going on with Open Learning Collective.
Yeah. I see that you have already started to catch your goals by founding this project, and it's nice to hear that. And it was really very very awesome to have you, Nicole, for hosting the whole conversation, and to be to be also interviewing this section as well. Please, if we missed out any topic and you want to raise, just raise it now. We still have some more minutes. If you want to talk about anything related to the open spaces, it's welcome. Do you have
Yeah,
anything else?
I just wanted to say I don't think that I shared the link for the Offline Internet Consortium. That's the organization that hired me to write the paper that we've been discussing today. So I'll just put the link for them in the chats. And if you're an organization that does, that creates offline solutions or does offline advocacy, I would highly recommend to check it out. The report is also linked there. There, is information on a lot of organizations that are working on offline solutions. So that's definitely like a place you can go to get more information about who's working in offline, like what are they doing. One of the things we didn't really get to touch on, which was in the third topic that the report covers, is kind of the 5 areas of the offline, like meaningful internet connectivity offline, which are content, hardware, software, digital skills, and policy solutions. So there's kind of these 5 areas of work. So if you're thinking like, well, I don't create hardware, can I get involved? Like, yes, you can. There's a lot of ways to get involved. Like we talked about a lot in this conversation today, digital skills are a really important part of meaningful universal access to connectivity. Policy solutions are a really important part of that. Obviously, hardware and software are an important part of that, and also the content and having accessible content in local languages is part of that. So we know that these things are all really important to our Wikimedia community, and so there's a lot of ways for you to get involved. So I think I'll end on kind of that you know point of like get involved. There's a lot of ways to contribute.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nicole, for this amazing facilitating for the whole episode. And thanks for all our guests who joined us today.